All right, well, show captions. We got go for
Okay. I will call this meeting of the Castine Selectboard to order at 4 p.m. And we do have additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda. I have 2 additions. We have a food truck application that we can discuss, and we have the recreation committee application. All right, we can do those before the evening. So moving on to the final warrant abatements, reviewing the budget. We have a general fund warrant in the amount of $103,086. Is there any discussion? I have none today. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And we have a water warrant in the amount of $14,589.61. I will move that amount. Second. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. And the next thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of previous meetings. So we will start with Monday, March 31st. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of that? So moved.
Second.
You, and we have minutes from a budget work session. I'll move the approval of those from April 1st, 2021. Thank you. All in favor? So we just have minutes from a budget work session on March 25th. Second, all in favor? And we have minutes from executive session on Monday, March 24th. I will move that we approve those minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we have minutes from a budget work session on Monday, March 24th. Do I have a
So moved.
thank you? Second, all in favor? Aye. And we have minutes from a budget work session on Tuesday, March 18th.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And finally, we have the minutes from the select board meeting on Monday, March 17th. I will move we approve those minutes.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Just a little bit.
We never see each other. Never meet. All right. So we'll move on to new business. And the first thing we have under new business is the public hearing and approve the renewal liquor and amusement license for the Pentagoet Inn. So we do have, 2 things. We have the liquor license, and then we have the special amusement permit. I will take, we'll take them one at a time. We'll take the liquor license first. Do we have, I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Nope.
No? And because this is a public hearing, does anybody from, out there have a comment regarding approving the liquor license for the Pentagoet? Yes.
Just for like a FYI, so the state of Maine is moving all of these licenses digitally, and Sue pointed this out to me actually. So you'll also be receiving a digital okay from the state once this goes through. And then also I asked their permission to move our renewal date. It's currently at July 5th, which is when we took over. But that is a horrible time to be doing any paperwork.
Yes.
So I've asked permission to move it up to May 5th. So hopefully that will be coming through soon.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, man. Okay, all in favor? Aye. And now the application for the special amusement permit. Do I have a move? So moved. I'll second. Is there any discussion? Does anyone have any discussion about the particular special event? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, and moving on, we have a public hearing to renew the bottle club licenses of the Castine Golf Club and the Castine Yacht Club. So we will start with the Castine Golf Club. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Okay, I'll second. All right, is there any discussion? Does anyone have any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. And now we have the bottle club license for the Castine Yacht Club. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second, thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion on the floor? No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. And a public hearing and adoption of the updated general assistance ordinance. And, that was on. So I don't have it in front of me, but Derek, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I'm not gonna go through the ordinance that we have on record. I forget how many years back it goes. Do you remember Sue the date on it? But basically, they put out a new model ordinance every few years that encompasses all the state changes and the law. And this is based on the welfare directors of Maine and also the state of Maine laws. They put together this model welfare ordinance, a general assistance ordinance with the help of Maine municipal legal staff. And every year we end up updating the appendices. This is the ordinance I'm using anyways, because it puts us into compliance with general assistance law, but we need to formally adopt it. And if anybody wants me to go through it, I'd rather have them apply and go through it that way than try to figure out what's different from the last time we updated it. But it is the model ordinance. Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
All right, so do I have a motion to adopt the updated?
I move
GA?
we adopt the new general assistance policy.
Okay, second, okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Does anyone have any discussion? Okay,
I'll just point out real quick that typically, so there's no confusion, typically ordinances are passed by town voters. General assistance is one that the state allows the select board to approve the updated versions.
thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. And now we have to approve the 2025 policy for mooring side stock launch ramp rules and fees. Alrighty, I'll go.
I so move that we pass the new 2025 policy on the site dock and launch rules.
Any discussion?
How much is it?
So-
For which service? What do you want to do?
Do you want a copy?
This is recommended by the Harbor Committee. And they are increasing from 125 resident to 150, non-resident 375 to 400 for moorings. Dinghy storage down at the town floats. 125 was resident, now 150, non-resident was 250, or sorry, 225, now 250. And then resident commercial was 125, 150.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right, finally. So appointments to the housing ad hoc committee. For a few weeks about, 2 months about creating a housing committee, and we are ready to do so, so.
Are you adding a person onto that
Yes,
list?
yes,
Okay,
that's
just to
okay,
make sure.
yes.
Okay, yep.
Okay, so I will move that we appoint Deborah Nees, Patrick Hogan, Charlotte Brownlee, Penny Carlian, Ted Lemire, Tony Politano, Tom Aston, Kevin Cody, Craig Johnson of MMA, and Sarah Carey to the ad hoc committee on housing, and the select board liaison will be Dan Leader. All right, is there a second? Okay. All in favor, or is it
Who seconded that?
Dan?
You probably should.
I should. All right, now that we're good, is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Yay.
Yay.
All right.
I, except for you for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you voted for everybody else, just
Yeah.
not himself. Okay, we are ready for updates from board committees. Brooke, would you like to go first?
Oh, I'd love to.
Castine Historic Preservation.
A short update. Our two most recent projects or applications have been from the library and the Manning House on Main Street, which is in progress, as you can see every day when you go up and down the road. We are always looking for new members for the Castine Historic Preservation Commission. And when we don't have applications, we work on the updating the ordinance and the design. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Brooke. And thank you all for the work that you do. And now, an update on 2026, 2029.
You want me to stand, should I stand up?
If you'd like to, we'd love that.
So, I've been part of the planning process for the 250th or semi-quincentennial. You can all memorize semi-quincentennial, we'll have a test at the end. The 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, start of the Revolutionary War, is going to be a national project. In a lot of ways, we've been planning it for many, many years, and I've been in conversation with a couple of different stakeholders in Castine about what that might look like here in Castine. We had some interest at one point from someone else in the community about planning something really massive for 2029, the 250th of the Penobscot expedition. That we're probably going to be scaling back a little bit, but that's still in the planning process. And I'm eagerly awaiting the arrival of the new director for the Castine Historical Society, because I think that individual is going to be key in helping to guide what we do for 2029 for this commemoration of the Penobscot expedition. In the meantime, we still want to be part of the nationwide commemoration that's happening in 2026 of the Declaration of Independence and the American Revolution. And in late February, I participated in a nationwide virtual summit of sorts about some of these really cool national initiatives that are happening to engage with the 250th. And some of them are, and they're more creative than I had kind of expected in terms of thinking about how can we do this in a way that is creative and generative and community building. And because Castine's specific Revolutionary War story doesn't start until later, we wanted to kind of hold that kind of history part of it till 2029, but think about a creative way to engage nationally. And so the national initiative that really rose to the top for me, and Roberta and I have met a couple times to talk about it, is a national initiative to honor the value of service and the fact that the value of service has been a core value for the nation since its founding. The idea of doing for others as opposed to just for yourself, and with a very broad and encompassing definition of service. So yes, it means volunteerism, but it also means the small town doctor or the great elementary school teacher, whoever that is acting for the greater good, right? That this broad idea of what service looks like. And there's a national organization, the museum, it's the National Museum and Center for Service. It's not a physical museum yet, but they're a national organization. And they put together a wonderful set of toolkits for a community to create a community museum of service. And this is not a building, this is not a physical space necessarily, it will exist in some of the physical spaces. But the idea is that as a community, you form a group, a coordinating group, and as broadly as you can as a community, you honor the individuals or groups in your community that really exemplify that value, the kind of core value of service. And so, still pretty early in the planning process, even though I don't have a ton of time, so exactly how it will evolve. We're gonna start working on it now. And working with a variety of stakeholders, Roberta and I come up with an initial list of who the different organizations and stakeholders we want to have around the table are. We really want to engage kids at the Adams School in this process. There's actually a whole separate toolkit for K-12 schools that we'll be incorporating. There's a whole separate toolkit for colleges and universities, so figuring out how Maine Maritime Academy and some of their service clubs might be part of this. And it will probably exist as a series of exhibits around town in a variety of public spaces that honor as many folks as we can in our community that live to embody that spirit of service across the community. We work with kids to do things like gather stories, take photographs, and so on. So that's as far as that was where we landed. So what's a good way that this community can be part of this national commemoration without getting bogged down in some of the challenges I think are going to be facing the 250th. And then it really seemed to be a nice alignment with our community. And there's so many folks in this community, so many organizations that embody that spirit of service. I thought it would be a really fun project for town. Now, had you actually formed a committee before? Yeah. Was there?
We didn't have a committee, we just kind of had you as a person.
Yeah. Rather than, we can certainly make it a town committee, but we'd rather actually have it be something that for now, at least, is based on the Wilson Museum, and then the town will have someone that's one of the working group members will be someone from the town. Roberta has tentatively agreed to do that. She's like me, she's a little bit over committing. But we will be welcoming, and we'll have opportunities for broader public input on organizations, stakeholders, and so on that you all think should be involved in this. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is the idea that seemed to us like a really positive, creative way to engage the wider Castine community in a national initiative that's happening around the 250th. I guess I'd be happy to answer questions other than that. And then again, we'll have ways of reaching out and getting people's feedback on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks.
One of the things I really love about the programs is that the children from the Adams School would each sort of pair up with someone from the community that they don't know, and they would interview that person and take photographs of that person, and then they will put together this board explaining this person and how they do service in Castine. And I think that that's a really great opportunity to get the kids meeting people that they don't know. So thank you so much. Okay. Moving right along to the resolution declaring support for the preservation of federal tax exemption of municipal bonds. Do I need to read this? Yes, I probably. All right. Hold on, guys. Whereas the tax exempt municipal bond market is a widely used source of capital for states, local governments, tribes, territories, and nonprofit borrowers that finances a tremendous share of the nation's public infrastructure. And whereas state and local governments finance about 3/4 of the public infrastructure in the United States and use tax exempt bonds to do so, with the federal government providing only about 1/4 of that investment. And whereas federal tax exemption for municipal bonds dating back to the 1800s and incorporated into modern tax code in 1913 has been crucial for the state and local governments to affordably finance critical infrastructure projects. And whereas tax exempt bonds offer borrowers to achieve a multiplier effect of 2.11, meaning that for every dollar borrowers achieve $2.11 in borrowing cost savings, thereby demonstrating the efficiency and effectiveness of this exemption in facilitating infrastructure investment. And whereas tax exempt bonds provide for essential infrastructure projects such as roads, bridges, utilities, broadband, water and sewer systems, and hospitals, which are vital to the health and well-being of our community, such that without such bonds, the cost of borrowing would be more expensive, thereby causing an increase in taxes and fees that would place an undue burden on taxpayers. And whereas the select board of the town governing body finds and determines the tax exempt municipal bonds provide an opportunity for economic development along its path, better facilitate the movement of agriculture products, equipment and other goods, and increase safety. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the town as follows. The governing body hereby encourages the Maine congressional delegation to assist the town of Castine, Maine by preserving the tax exempt status of municipal bonds by supporting and ensuring the protection of the federal tax exemption of municipal bonds. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution shall be furnished to all members of the Maine congressional delegation. Okay, so I have a motion to accept and sign this bond, or this resolution.
I will be accepted the resolution.
Second, thank you. Are there any questions from anybody? Okay, all right, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Okay. And there,
We should apply for the.
congressional directors, and yeah.
I will briefly, so this is going to be for a fire station, we've been working over the last. Few weeks on this, and especially last week and the week before, to start locking in. Ina and I had met a few times, and then Randy and I, and then Randy and I met last week. To I guess you could clarify fact from fiction, so what we're writing is truthful in the application. What our intention is to apply for both Senator Collins, but also Senator King's office. Senator King is where although I'm hopeful for Senator Collins, I'm hoping to go after Senator King rather aggressively as part of this, so he will put it in, although they usually submit them, it seems like together, or at least they talk about it. So basically, this will be for $2.5 million for the fire station, which by the time this gets approved, hopefully we will have some preliminary design already underway following the funding and town meeting, the hiring of owner's project managers. So beyond that, that is what it's for, which should cut some of the costs of local taxpayers down significantly for the project. So we may or may not get it. We will see. Just so the people know in the audience, every project that was approved for FY25. I don't know what the number is, but I know that the Congress themselves, the US House rather, has 15 projects they can submit, and then there, whatever the other list is, I don't even know what it is entirely, because I haven't read all the other funding sources. We'll be probably going through USDA instead of HUD, because we don't know if HUD will still be an agency by then. But everything from FY25 has not been funded. It's been submitted, it's in a Senate budget, or it's in a House budget, but as you may be aware, they keep reapproving continuing resolutions of the budget for FY25, which means they've never adopted a budget. It's FY24. They keep adding a little more spending onto each agency every few months, and that's why we continue to hear about government shutdowns. So if they don't approve a budget by September 1st for FY24, then it will be FY25. So all of those projects will be in the loop, but also the new FY25 projects. They still have to reapply for the FY24 if there's never a budget adopted. And as I'm told, some of those projects will have gone away because they couldn't get local support for them, or they will have to battle with the new request. So that is where we are. So not the most perfect timing to be applying for this, because the competition is going to be the last competition potentially that was actually put forward by our senators and representatives, and then also this new funding that will be coming up. So but we're going to go for 2.5. I think that's a sweet spot. They give us 500,000, I'll be happy. But don't put that in the paper, because I'd really like to get the 2.5.
Did you mistake? You said you were gonna apply for 5 and be happy to get your.
Well, I thought about doing that too, because I looked at some of the other like 10 different projects across the state, and I said, geez, we could probably go for more, but I don't want to go too far. And I think one of our strong suits will be the fact that we're going to fund, more than that. So that would be, I think, that will show our support for the project. Any questions beyond that, I'm willing to answer them.
Well, thank you for all the work that you put
Yeah.
on this, because it came up really suddenly and with a quick due date. So
Right, yeah, and that's,
it's been a lot of
so
work.
one is due on Monday and the other on Tuesday, so just so you know.
Um,
We'll be calling you in to
to sign.
sign some support letters, a support, yeah, couple.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the congressionally directed spending grant.
Second,
So moved. Thank you. Okay, so thank you. All right. Is there any further discussion? No, all in favor? Thank you. It's time for the town manager's report.
See, I'll try to give an abridged one since anybody can request the written copy, but let's see, Dan, the report you've been working on, the message of people, is that intended to go into the town report also? Because I want to add, the report we've been working on back and forth here with the thing, okay, because I need to add a few other items
Yeah.
onto it from my
Yeah.
perspective.
yeah,
But otherwise, great work there. When is that going to be due, Sue, besides last week?
Last week.
All right, I'll try to get to it by the end of this week. And finalize that. All right, I'll try to get to it by Thursday, which to me is still midweek, right? We'll see what I can do, maybe tomorrow. All right, let's see, here's something interesting. So I put Fort Madison Engineering on here, although I just got an email and I haven't been able to get a clear answer. So I'm trying to get an answer from FEMA or MEMA, whether or not we truly have this money or whatever, because I'm confused by the fact they're talking about drawdowns, okay? Now I would think that means we've spent it and then they're going to, reimburse us. So there's a question of whether or not this money is held up or not, still, like Augusta can't get to it from FEMA, even though it's been earmarked for us, so I'm trying to get clarity on that, which would be the Fort Madison Engineering. The gazebo, I gotta get together with Karen to see if we've actually gotten that money in place, because I don't think we've gotten that. We've only got for the precautionary measures that we took in removal of the debris. So that's why I'm kind of sitting back, trying to get clarity on those things before I go out and spend money and then find out that it isn't there. So, but the gazebo, since we're talking about it, I will say I'm trying to set up something for tomorrow. I was hopeful for Wednesday. Scott reminded me the docks are going in on Wednesday, so he won't be available, but I've met with Scott on one occasion. I've met with Ted Lemire and with Mark Pelletier. Hopefully they can meet tomorrow at 1. That's my goal, so we can get together and discuss pros and cons. I did get an answer that we don't need to make it more resilient, Scotty, but we can, and even what we do will make it more resilient, but I'm still waiting for the official word from FEMA on that. I did read some of the questions or some of the statements on Facebook, and some people have emailed me about, oh, keep it the same, oh, make it a little different, but the same. So I think we're trying to make it a little different, but the same. It's still going to be a rectangular type of thing, whether or not it has walls up or just seating, so it's more like a pavilion, will be something that we discuss further, and then I will bring something back to you on what we believe that we have designed. Of course, the people that have been helping out with designing, also, I said, don't forget, we have like 18,000 for this. I think we're talking more than that. They said, well, if we create something magical, perhaps we'll get donations. And I said, okay, let's hope. So we'll see what we come up with. The one thing is I'm hoping to have this built by our own staff, so that certainly will cut down on the cost, so will be the supplies for building it. Let's see, I have a certified local government report. I gotta just get together what we did since I wasn't here to file that. That just makes us eligible. I think we're one of only a few handful of communities eligible for the small grant pot that there is. And I think that's tied to historical types of stuff, preservation off the top of my head. Let's see, I did get the risk management assessment checklist, which, as you know, I think when Amy was first coming on, I talked about the salt shed walls and stuff. Well, this is another report based on that. Joe's been working on it, so I need to get some solid dates of when we're gonna review stuff or when we're gonna have things fixed. just so you know, Battle Lab, there is going to be a project next to Dice Head Lighthouse to the neighboring property. They will be accessing their wall from the Dice Head property. Because they need to shore up their rock wall, which holds up a porch and other parts of their structure. They will be cutting down, I guess we end up cutting the sumac and other bushes down anyways to the left of the trail down to Dice Head, so that's where it'll be taking place. They may have a small excavator down there at times, but so just letting you know that I told them go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we could have a porch sitting there in another year or so. We don't want that. Or sunroom, which I don't know what we call it here. I call it a porch, screened in porch. Let's see, Wells Crossing Transfer Station, I'll be brief on this one. DEP is looking into it. They're gonna do some PFAS testing, and they owe me a report. They said we'll probably need to hire a consultant related to this project. So I'm still waiting for him to put all his thoughts together and see what needs to happen. Ultimately, we'll do some water sampling of our own and of those other wells. Actually, there's 2 of them. But then we get into the other issues of when we turn it over, if we do, if the private wells pass. So that's that. It won't be probably done by June 30th. Karen did check with the auditors, and we can carry forward this year's money to next year to help pay for those costs of that. 26 Water Street in the next week or 2 will be shut down partially or fully at a few times. Or rather, Water Street will, so they can put in water and electrical conduit and pipe. But they're talking about the complete shutdown should only be for a few days, but may even be less than 1 day. It depends how quickly they can hydro trench that. But they will have it partially blocked because of the trucks delivering materials or removing materials during that time. But traffic should still be able to flow, although parking will be greatly reduced during those 1-lane time periods. And once the fence around where they're excavating will be done. I'm not gonna mention the next one. Water Street guardrails, something for you to consider. I need to talk to Sean more. I know that we've talked about putting in some wooden guardrails there. I've got 2 letters now from people complaining about the conditions. We're hoping to get some money to engineer Water Street. There's no reason to try to pound guardrails in the shoulder of that road. They're going to fall into the ocean or be dangling, similar to the cable and the whatever is in there, stumps, I guess, for the cables. Ultimately, though, if we wanted to, we could look at something that's a little bit different, and we could look at putting in, and I don't know why we're not looking at putting in steel guardrail there, because it is partially in there. It certainly will be, I don't know, 1/5 of the cost, I think, because we can use used guardrail that's in good condition. Maybe the state has some they'll donate to us, which I've done in the past. But we're talking about 600 and something feet. I did find an old estimate for installing 300 feet of guardrail in the $8,000 to $10,000 range, but that is now 7 years old. But still, I'm thinking even if it's 3 times, that would be less. But what that would entail is shrinking the width of the road down, meaning no parking wherever those guardrails are, and making it 1 way all the way to Court Street, because there's no place for us to turn around. So if that's what we want to do, we could look at doing that. But that's going to be a decision that we'll have to discuss. But otherwise, we need to shore up the shoulders, so otherwise these things are just gonna fall back in. And what I'm thinking this is going to entail is actually going through the pavement, so it's far enough off that. And then maybe we could relocate it 1 day, but I'm guessing once we decide to go this measure, then we're not looking backwards, still do the stabilization of the down to the water, the shoulder down to the water and sloping, but I think that we'd continue just to leave that in there because of the cost, but I don't know. So I'm just giving you an answer on that. I have reached out to CA Newcomb, who's the local contractor that does most of the guardrail work, to see if they couldn't come and take a look at how much they think that would be as an alternative, so I'll report back eventually about that. Let's see. Oh, all related to that, if we don't get the FEMA money, I've talked to the University Maine Engineering Program, because they've reached out, to the Maine Town and City Managers Association. And they're looking for engineering capstone projects, and of course, that wouldn't give us a plan, like actual blueprints or anything, but they'd have all these engineering students with their young, fresh ideas coming up with, solutions perhaps, that then we could fold that into a design. So that could be something that we look at also, and because that's not gonna be a cheap project. I don't even remember what FEMA put for an initial number on it, but it was in the mid six figures, put it that way. Let's see, I got Joe working on a few of the highway related items. Wildfire protection grant, we've got one submitted consultant application for that for the peninsula. And we have reviewed it, and I see that I didn't spell consultant right, and spell check didn't catch it, and I just caught it now, but so I have a meeting, I believe it's on Wednesday, and we're gonna discuss the contract a little bit more, and then the following week, we have another meeting in Blue Hill to actually sit down with the consultants to discuss their proposal. And I won't get into all the details. Once it's complete, I will. Solar, don't really have an update, waiting on revision, and Select is actually waiting to find out the result of the bills and net metering before they do much more. The budget, so everybody knows, are pretty much done with it, except for one project, which is dry hydrant. And Scotty and I were down with fire personnel and a contractor and the consultant for the dry hydrant. I think we've got money there that's budgeted for the dry hydrant, but we need to stiffen up the access road and everything else, so we're probably looking at double what we're estimating. But I'm not gonna come up with a figure yet truly, because we'll get it in the next few days, and then we can finalize that budget. How we fund that, we'll have that discussion at that time. But I think it is something that's needed, and it gives us a water source off neck, and that spot will work for that particular location. Let's see. We mentioned the fire station and the congressionally directed spending. Waterfront study, I did hear from the state today. It was, I'm meeting with my supervisor on Thursday, and I'll let you know on Thursday. So we're making progress on the second public forum related to the dock study. Not as much progress as I'd like, but I did get an answer that Thursday. I will hopefully have an answer and bring that to you. T-Mobile grants being resubmitted, infrastructure plan update. I need to just give them the go ahead if you guys approve that we're gonna spend that out of our infrastructure reserve funds, or is it a reserve fund or is that the capital, Karen?
What's that?
The infrastructure plan?
Capital.
Yeah, capital account, so I believe you already kind of said, we can spend out of that, we won't put it in the budget. To me, I took that as a go ahead and give them the green light, but just want to make sure I heard that right. Let's see, Project Canopy had public forum. It was sparsely attended, but I think that it was informative, and I think some good ideas and candid discussions were had. Let's see. Oh, I just thought of something I need to put my signature on. The housing grant, which is CDBG funding, I believe. I need to sign that contract. I meant to do it last week, but I didn't sign it. That's to do a housing study for us. Who was it? Surrey and somebody else. Huh? Brooksville, thank you. So hadn't had a lot of discussion on that myself because of the Washington Hancock Planning Commission's been the ones heading that up, and you. So and Dan, I believe now. So let's see, Governor's Waste Diversion Grant. We didn't get the grant. Okay, but here's the thing. We've been told it was a very good application. somehow when we were editing the budget, we dropped below the 25% match and we're only at about 21%, so that. We're gonna resubmit it for this next round for September and hopefully we will get it. So we will see. And thanks Sue for taking that call. So let's see. General assistance we did. Street light, let's see, Main Street lights, we're still waiting for Hampton Electric. I need to give them a call and find out if they have our estimate on that, to put on actual plugs rather than the pigtails underneath. Mentioned the fire department. Sean has been working on the rental sewer and water ordinances, so he'll have that. I believe tomorrow he's also bringing those zoning changes that you've seen already to the planning board to decide whether or not there'll be one article or a few different articles for each amendment. So that's something why on my final item is we may need to have a special meeting, or rather another meeting this week sometime for budget and for that particular item, so we can put the town meeting warrant in its final form and for you to approve it. Is that still the plan, Karen? She's saying yes, so I am going to say that's still the plan. And other than that, you have what I have for my schedule. Monday is, we are closed, so keep that in mind for next week. And that's it. Any questions from anybody here? Seeing none, any questions from anybody out there? Brooke?
About halfway through, Gary, you mentioned something about the wells and private wells.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand.
Oh, these are the wells. We have a little well house that, I don't know, 20-something years ago, 30 years ago, that the wells were contaminated by salt across the street from the salt shed on the transfer station property. So we're looking at testing those wells to see if they're clear of salt, to see if we can turn the, either allow them to use their private wells or to take over the operation of that particular well house on their own, rather than everybody else paying for it. Yeah. Yes,
I
sir.
don't know whether you mentioned it, but I can't hear it that well, but we discussed the gazebo.
Yeah,
I think you did a little bit,
I did.
but I just wanted to what I think in this town, when people come in on their boats, I think it should be a little more welcoming when they come in. And you have the opportunity after last year's terrible situation. We could have a nice, very nice wind vane on top of the gazebo, and I first discussed this with Goody Bee. And she said, "Oh no, I don't want any change whatsoever." She wants exactly as it was in 1938. And so I said, well, this will not be that much of a change. What I did was I took this sheet, which is that's simply a sheet which came along with the model of the Hermione, which I built after the Hermione was gone. And that helped a lot in the design of it and my interpretation of it. But that's about the size of what you could have as a wind vane, at least one end of the wind vane, and simply pounded out of copper. I've even got a big piece of copper at home, and but you can have it built by somebody a little more professionally. And if you look online, there are lots of roosters, things like that. But I thought something should be related to Castine. And so the idea was to take this up as an idea and see if anybody agrees with it. And possibly build a good little one. And furthermore, if you remember in Monticello, Jefferson put a wind vane on top of the dome that he built, and it went right through to the ceiling. And in the ceiling, he had an arrow going around to see what the wind, which way the wind was. Well, that's not so difficult for us. If you even use the old gazebo as it is, all you got to do is drill a hole and put a little arrow in there. It might be some little educational thing for the kids to see what's. That's the whole idea. That's about all I can say about it right now. It doesn't have to have all these sails, but you could put on these and on the after a few of the sails to help the one end of the wind vane or the other. So that's about all I had to say. So
David,
Thank
thank you for your enthusiasm
Thank you.
well,
and your good ideas.
it's and the other idea was simply to put a windsock on the other end of the whole thing, right on top of the harbor master's shack. So you've got, when people blow in on the wind or going out, they can have something to give them an indication. So that's about it. By the way, on the other side, I worked for many years with Jim Fisher, who was the planning character for the whole of Hancock County. I used to go to his place on, and this is one of the, happens to be one of the prints that we put out, all these little yellow dots, and then there are some others of green, etc. That was the whole of historic Castine. All of the houses, we had made pictures of these, and well, if somebody wants to take a look at it, I'll leave this up.
Thank you, David,
Thank you,
so
David.
much. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Sorry.
I'm Ted Coladarchi's contractor. I'm just to follow up on the guardrail. We're putting up a new boathouse for them and Danielle Muddy's here as well. There's some big concerns about that guardrail. So I guess A is what's the select board's feeling on addressing that issue? And if Ted has enough concern to protect the new building that we're putting up, because the guardrail posts are laying at a 45-degree angle. And if someone slips off the road, they're gonna go right into his new building.
Or get hurt.
What is the, or what would be the town's standpoint on allowing a temporary guardrail erected in front of his property until the town makes a decision on what they're gonna do? Because it's obviously a huge liability for the town as well as homeowners.
I'm here because my property, my driveway, I'm gonna go right into his building. There's no guardrail, nothing. If my car stops working, I'm up there. So it's been very, very.
I mean, I drove by there, I don't know if it was this morning, but I thought you guys like. I mean, it's not, we have to do something. I mean, it's really dangerous and, you know, I don't know if a temporary, are we allowed to do, I mean.
I don't know, I'll have to double check on that, I don't know why we couldn't, I actually thought about putting giant rocks or something along there. But my problem is that somebody hits that and launches that into the house, that's just as bad as having the car, so.
I talked to Sean about
Yeah.
a temporary one.
Yeah.
Planning board would have to give a variance because it's in the town right away. Of course, nobody knows how
Right.
wide the right of way is there, but
Right,
drops off to the ocean, so it doesn't really
Right.
matter. That generally speaking, they would not allow a variance of that sort. However, given the circumstances, from the yacht club up to George Murnahan's house of having no guardrail, that it.
I guess one of my
It would be a
questions is,
possibility.
how much, over the last 6 months, how much worse has it gotten? I mean, like, the longer we wait, the worse it gets.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could shoulder tackle any of those and bring them down to the shore.
Okay.
You know, they're gone, they're just gone.
No, but I guess my question is, has it gotten, is it getting? How, is it getting worse every day?
I don't know on that. I mean, it can't get any worse. It's non-functional.
Okay,
I mean, that's 100% non-functional on that entire stretch. If anybody deviates off the road, they're going to the shore.
okay.
It's not gonna stop anything.
I think we're all very concerned about public safety. We
Yeah.
don't want a car going into anybody's house or boathouse or, it sounds like if they start with planning board, they can get to planning board and talk about that temporary variance to put up
Right,
or a variance to put up a temporary guardrail.
right,
And then we can discuss more about a more permanent guardrail in
Yeah.
our next work session.
right.
Does that seem fair?
I just
But-
think, if it's a safety concern,
If it's a safety.
I don't have a huge problem with metal rail. We have it, the thing is, it's hidden in the knotweed right now, so you don't even see
Right.
but that is for the most part, but rather than some fancy wooden thing, I'm thinking steel may be the best thing, you know?
Well, let's just be safe
Right.
at this point.
And it may mean drastic measures for the road too, like one way and other things, there may be no other way around it. Unless we can come up with $500,000 or something dollars to deal with the other solutions, so,
So why don't we?
which still needs to be done eventually.
Danielle?
I actually came to the board years ago asking for one way on Water Street in the summer. And because it's really dangerous, there are kids walking on bicycles, on tricycle. I mean, if you live there, you can see this every day. You cannot meet another car
Right.
when there's somebody.
Right.
Danielle, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Just one second. Which way
I
would
was
you
gonna ask
go?
the same question, which way?
To be the same way as the short span at the beginning of Water Street. It would have
So
to
you
be, yes.
would go all the way down and
Going
around
all the way
Well, the
to
Dyer,
Street.
Yeah.
to Dyer.
Well,
Yeah.
from Dyer to
It
Port.
could be just in the summer, because that's certainly when the traffic is.
Okay,
During the winter, it's not as difficult.
thank you, Scott. Sorry.
We have Jersey barriers out to the dump, and you could put them up, space them
Yeah.
out, so that the space between them was less than a car, and you could do that this week.
That's.
Great idea.
Yeah, I didn't know how many Jersey barriers we had. I thought about that, but the Jersey barriers, if we had to buy them along that whole stretch, would be fairly
That's
expensive.
what we have and rent a few or whatever you gotta do, but that would be a quick and easy way to
Yeah.
stop it, and cars not gonna go.
So like, if we were gonna do that, Scott, how many, like, just the really dangerous areas right
That's what
now?
I would do.
Okay.
It's a great.
And you can, they don't have to touch each other.
Right, that,
Now,
right.
if we
Space them out
if we
so
did
that-
that, they don't have to go to the planning board to do a temporary.
Yeah,
I mean,
because we would do
from
it.
Danielle's cottage to Chip and Laura Terry's stone wall in front of their house is the most vulnerable part where there's actually buildings.
How many feet is that?
It's gonna be what, a couple hundred stone, probably 200 feet.
Do you think we have enough Jersey barriers to do?
Probably not quite, but not far off, if you space them out, you know, a car is gonna be, even both sides, gonna be 4 or 5 feet at least, so. You know, just space them out 5 feet,
Thank you.
and then pick up a few more. and
Yes.
You can always use them.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you so much. That's a great idea. Okay. We don't need to vote. Do we need to?
Let me find out what we have and then, do some math.
Okay,
But I do,
What else somebody may have.
yeah,
We need to put.
yeah.
yeah,
Should we vote to
No,
authorize?
no, you don't,
Or we don't
because
need
what'll
We're not
happen
spending
is,
money.
if we have the money in our operating account, then they, I mean, Derek can buy them, so long as they're underneath the, the 10,000, which they've gotta be, otherwise we're, we've got the money. So,
but I do think even if temporarily we put the Jersey barriers up, I just think it's, Water Street has kind of bounced around for a while. I
Yeah.
think we need to make it a priority.
We'll put that on the next work session.
Yeah.
Bobby Bot, way in the back.
You can rent them also.
Right,
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we'll put making Water Street one-way on the next work session agenda. And, we'll look at a temporary.
And thank you guys for coming in. I didn't know you were coming in. I just
Yeah, thank you.
put it on my report because I have been looking into it.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else have a question for the town manager? Okay. I think we need to do a vote to authorize the money for the infrastructure. Study, is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think you already did. I think you already said go ahead and spend it, but I wasn't sure on that.
I think we did.
Right. Well, that's all right. When you get the bill, you'll be. All
right.
Your doubt will be noted in the minutes, so you thought you already did it.
All right. Moving, thank you, Jared.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay,
Communications.
yeah, oh no, other business, we have two other pieces of business, so we have. A global vending application. From Hungry Mama Tacos.
Oh,
And Hungry Mama wants to come, I love these names.
Yeah.
Yeah, where is it? July, there it is, yeah, July 4th.
July 11th to the 14th.
Okay, there it is, July 11th to 14th, okay. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to the town dock. Do I have a motion?
So,
So moved.
second,
Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Hungry Mama's Tacos coming to town? Aye, all right, yay. All right, and we also had a request from the rec committee regarding, they want to do a Black Shore food bash. And they really would like to do a food truck offering during their Back Shore Beach bash, but in the food truck ordinance, it says that we cannot have food trucks at the Back Shore except on holiday weekends. And they don't want to do this on a holiday weekend, so I would suggest that we tell them.
they should look for other
Look
options.
for other options, yeah. Are you guys?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll just do that. Okay, and now communications. This is the craziest, like, agenda, guys. Okay, the Castine Garden Club would like to purchase new planters, 4 new planters, and have them installed by Memorial Day. Is there anybody here from the Castine Garden Club?
I have been duly appointed to represent the president. I'm here to answer any all of your questions.
So we are happy to.
Me to come.
Battle it out.
Answer questions. Come on.
Is the garden club going to purchase these planters or?
Yeah.
Yes?
You can ask them next one.
Okay. And they look lovely, Kathy. They really look nice. Thank you for such a generous.
I think they're about the size of the 2 round ones that are down there under the cannon.
Okay,
Yeah, we didn't actually measure them, but
they look beautiful. Wow, just thank you so much for such a generous gift to the town. I don't have, do we need to vote? on
Say
whether
thank you.
They can do it, just say
Just
thank you, right?
Thank you.
It's an installation, so you need to approve it.
Oh, okay,
We're putting them in there.
okay, well then,
And someone behind me just said, where are they going? Yeah.
okay, where are they going, Kathy?
So,
Oh,
you know
no.
where they're going, Kathy?
well, approximately. Down by the harbor master's shack or near there, and then one in the middle of the next part. And then one maybe over near where you go down to the dock. I mean, down to the water.
We're gonna be 4 total.
Or time, okay?
We don't wanna put them, apparently, Mark said we don't wanna put them on
right?
actual food dock.
I don't know if they know that.
Okay.
Because people tend to
But
eat the daisies, you know, they pick at them, they throw trash in them.
Cigarette butts.
It's not pretty, so we're gonna keep them away.
Okay,
And these don't have to, they have a well, and we don't have to water. So
that's excellent.
yeah.
Wow. All
And
right.
this is instead of, in years, we've always put the planters all along the rail. And this is instead of that,
Instead of.
and have it in just those areas.
Nice. Okay. I will make a motion that we give permission to the garden club to install the 4 new planters. Is there a second? Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. And finally, I just wanted to say that we got a communication from Annalise, that the PFAS testing that we did up at the Battle Avenue ponds was negative. The results was negative. There is no PFAS in our water, our drinking water. So very happy to say that. And now, are there any other communications that we have? Any? Okay. Time to acknowledge the members of the public and address their requests. Does anybody have anything for us? Anything? No. All right. Then our next scheduled meetings,
Selectboard comments.
oh, I'm sorry, select board comments, please.
So I just want to say that we've just winding down the budget work for the year. And it was really a lot of work, and I just want to thank Sue for her
Thank you.
and Karen and Sue and Derek for really really doing a tremendous job. I mean, it's not easy, and you know, Karen, you really go above and beyond, and everybody should just know, you know, what a great job that you do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Karen has put in over 70 hours on the budget this year.
And I appreciate the early morning work sessions, too, so I can go to work afterwards, so. Or the late night ones too.
It's
so.
been all
I
good.
appreciate the
Thank you,
flexibility.
Dan.
Yeah.
This has been great.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to our next scheduled meetings. We will have a work session, or actually we'll start here. We will have a town and gown this Friday at 9 a.m. here at Emerson Hall. We will have a work session next Tuesday, the 15th at 4 p.m. right here. And our next select board meeting will be Monday, the 21st, at 4 p.m. And I'm sorry, there was one more select board comment that I forgot. We have several people who have put in for appointments to the tree committee, the historic preservation commission, and the board of appeals. And we will discuss all of those on the work session and make the appointment on the 21st. Let's let everybody know. Okay, is there anything else?
I'll just point out that since you guys are meeting on Friday and then work session on Tuesday, that's when we'll get together and figure it out, but we'll likely do a meeting
One of those.
for you guys to sign a warrant.
Yeah, perfect.
Because we are like, we have to get to the printers.
Yeah.
Yes.
That we are pretty much over our normal timeframe.
It's been bad. Okay, well then I will make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Title I, MRSA, Chapter 13, Section 405, 6A, to discuss personnel matters. Thank you all for coming today.
Can you make that motion and then put it off in like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Just for a sign?
In 5 minutes. That is.
Oh.
In favor?
No.
Here it is.
Our staff right here. So I'm gonna go fix this resolution. Wait.
I'll see you tomorrow. Call me in the morning if the weather's changing.
For this,